Good afternoon. I'm Sean Yao and this is One News Now. Malacanang says the first day of the government's vaccination program was a success. Shaila Francisco joins us live from Makati for the details. Hi Shaila, how many health workers did they successfully vaccinate with Sinovac jabs and how many more are we expecting in the coming days?
Sean, as of yesterday, they were able to vaccinate 756 healthcare workers. That includes already the 500 military personnel also considered as health workers. DOH officials said this was higher than they expected, and they suspect it's maybe because some of the officials were inoculated first, giving confidence to other health workers. They didn't mention how many health workers will be vaccinated in the coming days, but they expect this to increase as more hospitals will be given access to these vaccines. Sean?
Right. Are we expecting any further assessment of the Sinovac vaccine anytime soon? And has there been any reported adverse effects so far?
Sean, initially they treat the first day of the vaccination program as a success, but the officials say they will have to wait a week to see whether there is a decreased hesitancy among health workers. As for adverse effects, they reported 20 healthcare workers who've mentioned some allergies, nausea, headaches, and some body pains. But they said this is common and they will monitor them to ensure that they will not have any more adverse effects after this. Sean?
Right, Shaila. Is the palace confident that this vaccine rollout will address hesitancy among the public to receive any sort of vaccine in general?
Sean, from the looks of the yesterday's vaccination program, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque thinks that this will be a success and there will be a decreased hesitancy among healthcare workers as more leaders in the health sector are vaccinated in the coming days. Sean?
All right, that's good to hear. Do we know or have any idea how many vaccines are being allocated for Luzon, for Visayas, or Mindanao, or maybe per province? How does that work?
Earlier during the press briefing, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque showed us the presentation where around 170,000 will be allocated for Luzon, 25 to 26,000 in Visayas, and more than 24,000 in Mindanao. That brings a total of 215,000 vaccines. They said they didn't allocate everything because they want to have a buffer stock in case some personnel or some hospitals needed if COVID cases increases in the future or in the coming weeks. Sean?
All right, in today's Laging Handa briefing, did health officials explain this 50.4% efficacy rate of Sinovac vaccines among health workers in Brazil? Were they able to shed some light on those numbers?
Sean, Dr. Solante pointed out that we may have, or the country may have a better efficacy rate because the cases is not as high as compared to when the trials were conducted in Brazil. And furthermore, without any vaccine available as of yet, this brings added protection to our healthcare workers amid the rise in COVID-19 cases. The important thing for health officials and for the national government is that there will be a decreased mortality, there will be less hospitalization among our healthcare workers. Sean?
All right. What about the vaccines coming from Sinopharm this time around? Is President Duterte still waiting for this vaccine? And is there any update on the EUA application? We spoke to FDA Director General Eric Domingo around the same time yesterday, and he said he has not seen it.
Sean, hours before the FDA confirmed that they've actually received the application for EUA, so we may just have to wait on their recommendation or approval regarding this. Sean?
All right. Now, Metro Manila, at least some areas in Metro Manila have been classified as critical risk and high risk due to a spike in cases. Do we have any idea which areas these are? I heard it was in Kamanava as of yesterday. Does that still hold true?
Sean, in today's briefing, Secretary Roque mentioned among the critical risks are Pasay, Malabon, and Navotas, and those higher risk are in Makati. Health officials mentioned that the new variants may have contributed to this, but this is not established as of yet. Maybe there was less compliance in terms of following the health standards, so they are monitoring the situation as we speak. Sean?
All right, that's good to hear. Now, moving on to transportation issues. Is the government going to allow more public transport to ply the roads, or maybe lessen capacity or add to capacity rather?
Sean, just like with any restrictions, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said it will depend on the rollout of the vaccine. So they are really focused on rolling out the vaccines in the nationwide or in the whole country so that they could relax the standards, including the public transport and the quarantine classifications. Sean?
Thank you for joining us. That was Shyla Francisco joining us live. The Health Department will recommend vaccinating health workers in Pasay City after the detection of the South African variant in the area. Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere told One News's Agenda that other residents should also be inoculated if there are enough vaccines. Pasay City has logged 3 cases of the more infectious South African variant. The 2 are returning OFWs from UAE and Qatar, while the other one is still being verified. The DOH has sent a team to Pasay to control the transmission of the new variant.
DOH recommended to the President that we vaccinate ito pong mga ating kababayan dito sa Pasay City. We will initially do this for the healthcare workers in Pasay City, and then we will see if there are still enough vaccines to vaccinate the other members of the community in Pasay City.
And one lawmaker is calling on the government to include teachers in the vaccine priority list. In an interview with One News's Agenda, House Committee on Education Chairman Roman Romulo said those who still go to schools physically remain at risk. Romulo underscored that they should be prioritized and get vaccinated at least before face-to-face classes resume in some areas.
Our teaching and non-teaching personnel, by groups po, mapasok pa rin po sila sa schools eh. So again, may risk eh. So really, we have to push na masama sila after the medical frontliners.
Let's check out some other vaccine-related stories from around the world. Over 1,000 doses of Pfizer's vaccine were wasted in Japan due to a freezer malfunction, the country's first case of wastage. The Japanese Health Ministry said cold storage units deviated from a required range of temperatures. Health authorities in France have eased restrictions on AstraZeneca shots, allowing those aged above 65 to get the vaccine. The country also announced that elderly with existing health problems will be inoculated. And Venezuela has given Sinopharm the green light to deploy its vaccines in the South American country. These China-made shots, which have no definite volume yet, will be in addition to millions of doses from Russian vaccine maker Gamaleya. And global food prices are the highest in 6 years due to supply chain issues and poor weather. Let's find out more from Bloomberg Quick Take.
I can't afford to sell it.
Tudo tá caro. Ontem coisa ужиматься меньше есть.
Global food prices are the highest level in more than 6 years, driven by increases in crops from soybeans to corn. That's largely caused by strong demand from China as well as poor weather and supply chain issues. It is a challenge for economists, central bankers, but it also has political implications. 3 of the nations where we are seeing surging food prices are Nigeria, Brazil, and Russia. These are some of the most populous nations in the world, large middle-income economies where food actually makes up a larger share of consumer spending. This is where governments may be under more pressure to act in order to stem the impact of price increases.
In January, food prices in Nigeria rose at the fastest pace in more than 12 years.
Sugar? I can't afford this anymore, so I'll go for the small one.
An average Nigerian household now spends more than 50% of its budget on food.
Initially, I do come to the supermarket with 20k and I'll be okay to buy some food stuff and everything. But now it's hardly been enough.
The price hikes follow a perfect storm of food security challenges, from supply bottlenecks to terrorist attacks on farmers. Land border closures led to shortages of staples like rice, and the plunge in oil prices dried up foreign currency reserves needed to import goods.
5 liters, but I can't afford it. So, I'll go for this, just a little.
Food-related grievances also played a role in sustaining the End SARS protests in the fall. What first started as demonstrations against police brutality turned into looting of warehouses storing things like noodles, rice, and pasta.
It's not easy for us at all. It's not. They should just try and listen to the masses. Please, we are begging. It's too much.
Memories of soaring prices and empty shelves in the aftermath of the Soviet Union's collapse are still vivid for many Russians. In recent weeks, the world's #1 wheat exporter imposed tariffs and quotas to curb sales abroad and drive domestic prices lower.
Заметили ли вы подорожание продуктов в магазинах?
Сложно не заметить. Подорожало процентов на 20 все.
И как это отразилось на вашем семейном бюджете?
Ну, приходится ужиматься, меньше есть.
Russia's largest retailers were also ordered to freeze some food prices, with potato and carrot prices up by more than a third from last year. The worry is that such limits could backfire and end up fueling overall inflation when restrictions are lifted at the end of March.
Muito. Depois da pandemia, então, os alimentos ficaram um absurdo.
Certo.
Tanto padaria, verduras, fruta, tudo.
Among emerging markets, Brazil saw the fastest increase in food prices in the past year relative to overall inflation.
Com a mesma forma de dinheiro que a gente usava no mês atrás, a gente não conseguia comprar agora.
Teve que diminuir as coisas dentro de casa, procurar preços mais baratos.
Rice jumped 76% last year, while milk and beef soared by more than 20%.
O óleo foi uma das coisas que eu acho que mais subiu. Um litro de óleo de soja você comprava de 3, até 10 reais, 8 reais, o litro é muito caro.
Tudo tá caro. O arroz, eu nunca mais comi arroz branco. Tá um absurdo. Esses negócios. Isso era que tinha que ser mais barato, o governo tinha que ver, era isso para nós. Ainda mais para as pessoas que recebem salário mínimo igual eu recebo.
The cost of securing vital nutrition threatens to widen inequality in a country with the biggest income gap in Latin America, a situation that's only been exacerbated by the pandemic.
Nós não temos muito o que fazer, não tem muito o que fazer. Uma vez o dólar subindo, tal, tudo subindo. Qual a tendência? A tendência é que um dia se regularize. É o fim dessa pandemia, o fim de toda essa celeuma aí que foi jogada no mundo, esse pânico todinho que todo mundo está vivendo. Então eu acho que é por aí.
For more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.